Hi, welcome to day 2 of Congruent Triangles. Before we start proving that triangles are congruent, there's a couple of hints I have to have you keep in mind. When we're proving triangles are congruent, they will not always give us all of the information that we need. If you remember back on page 3, when we knew that the triangles were congruent, we were able to list out all of the angle pairs and all of the side pairs. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of information. In our situation going forward, when we're trying to decide are the triangles congruent or are they not, we're going to have some things that we have to keep in mind. One of the things is a triangle situation like this, where you have a triangle on the left and a triangle on the right, and they are stuck together by a common side. So I'm going to write out all the sides in the triangle. This first triangle is going to be purple. This second triangle is going to be red. And I'm just going to write out those sides, and you'll see what I mean. So I have WX. I have XZ and WZ. And then over here on the right, I have XY, XZ, and ZY. Now, if you notice, both of the triangles have side XZ, and that's this side right here, going down the middle. That's acting like a townhouse, where we have a shared wall in a townhouse with your neighbor. You have a shared side in two triangles. Now, triangles are not always going to be stuck together like that, but that's something that we have to be prepared for. So I'm going to fill in some notes here. The triangles both have side XZ, and this is called the shared side. And the side is said to be reflexive or congruent to itself, because no matter what triangle it's in, it's going to be the same size in either triangle. Now, another thing to be aware of, before I go on, 1 second. So we would have to mark that shared side with a tick mark. And that's not something that generally will be done for us. We have to be prepared to do that. Okay, now down here below it says don't forget, and you probably don't get what this picture is trying to tell you, but don't forget about vertical angles either. Remember, vertical angles are known to be congruent, even though they're not marked for you in the picture. They are congruent, and we have to mark them ourselves. Now, there will be occasions where the vertical angles might be marked for you, but that's not going to be the norm. So in order to prove that triangles are congruent, sometimes we can't expect to have all of these 6 pieces of information available to us. So somewhere along the line, mathematicians came up with shortcuts. I'm going to write that over here. These are shortcuts where you do not have to have all 6 pairs to prove that the triangles are congruent. You can have less information, but the information has to be a particular combination of information. So let me show you those 5 shortcuts. The first shortcut is called side, side, side congruence. And what that means is that if you have 2 triangles, ABC and DEF, and AB and DE are congruent, see right here, side BC and EF are congruent, and AC and DF are congruent, then you don't need to know anything about the angles. You will know that those two triangles are congruent because all three side pairs are congruent. Now, if you look at, that's shortcut number 1. If you look at shortcut number 2, this one's called side angle side. So ABC, DEF. Now look at what the information they've given us. They said side AB congruent to side DE, angle B and angle E are congruent, and BC and EF are congruent. Now what you have here is you have a side, then as you walk around the triangle, you have an angle that is congruent, and you have a side. Notice how that angle is stuffed between the two sides, kind of like a sandwich. So that's kind of a helpful pattern to be able to find. Here's shortcut number 3. ABC, DEF, angle A and angle D are congruent. Side AB and DE are congruent, and angle B and angle E are congruent. So what you have here, if you walk around the triangle, you have an angle, and then a side, and then an angle. And that's how we get angle, side, angle. That information is enough to prove that the triangle is congruent. All right, we got 2 more. 4th shortcut is called angle, angle, side. Probably sounds a lot like the last one, but the pattern will look a little different. So if A is congruent to D and B is congruent to E, put 2 on there, and BC is congruent to EF, the triangles are congruent. Now 3 and 4 look very similar, but you have to kind of look carefully. Let me grab a highlighter real quick. So in angle, side, angle, notice that the side is sandwiched in between the two angles. In angle, angle, side, notice that the side has moved. It is an angle followed by another angle and then a side. So you have a little different pattern there. And then our last congruence shortcut, sorry, that's in yellow, only has to do with right triangles. So I'm going to draw some right triangles, give us a 90-degree angle. And it says if the hypotenuse, so that's this, and a leg of one right triangle are congruent to the hypotenuse and corresponding leg of another right triangle, then the triangles are congruent. And we call this HL for hypotenuse leg. It could also look like this. We drew these in the notes as well. You still need the hypotenuse, but you could have this leg instead. Okay, so those are the 5 shortcuts. Now, when you go over to page 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 and so forth, there's a lot of practice here. So when you get done with the video, let us know. We'll be starting this up as a class together, and then we can help get you caught up. Thank you.